What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out 15 Secret Service tactics that are insane. This is by Top Fives. I will leave a link down below to the original video like I always do. This is going to be super interesting to watch. It's funny because when I left the Royal Marines, I was actually going to do close protection. But I'm really glad I didn't, because I ended up going to America and meeting my wife and living in America for 10 years, 9 years. So I'm glad I didn't do it. But I do know a lot of Royal Marines go into close protection. And I'm not saying Secret Service is the same as close protection, but they're not dissimilar, right? The Secret Service is I'm thinking it's a military organization that does close protection. So it's a similar type of job. Although for Secret Service, you're doing it for high profile people like presidents. I wanted to watch this. I got sent this. I think it's important to watch stuff like this, especially considering all the stuff that's been happening recently with the election coming up this year, which just feels like pure chaos, doesn't it? So yeah, let's watch this. Let's have some fun. I don't think I've got too much to announce. Definitely check out Morale, my other business, down below. I'm super excited about this. It's my new passion, my mushroom passion. If you haven't seen it, check it out down below. Other than that, let's shut up, let's pull this up, and let's see the 15 Secret Service tactics.
Tasked with defending the President of the United States, the Secret Service uses amazing tactics to do their jobs.
They do.
Some of the measures they take may seem crazy, but there's a reason for everything they do.
Video! Oh, I forgot my face was so high up here. Let me pull it back down. That video then. Just pushes the knife away. Oh, why didn't everybody know that?
Join me as we take a look at 15 of the most insane Secret Service tactics.
All right, let's have a look. Top
Number
fives.
15, human shielding.
Yup.
While the president generally has barriers and barricades around him in order to keep out unwanted guests, the Secret Service will generally have some sort of formation that allows them to quickly intercept any threats.
Yeah, this is close protection tactics. The idea is that really and truthfully getting paid to put your body on the line to save their body. And so you would put your body between you and any danger. Yeah, this is nothing uncommon. It's a tactic that's used with all close protection, to be honest with you.
While this tactic is rather basic, it is proven to be extremely important.
Yeah.
This is because it was thanks to this shield that Richard Nixon was protected against a Latin American mob, and Ronald Reagan was safeguarded from an assassination attempt. As such, this tactic has become an integral part of Secret Service training.
Crazy that, isn't it? That it's actually
Number
been
14,
used in service.
Tactical driving. In the event of an attack on a...
Tactical driving is amazing, and I've done some of it. It's so fun. Not when it happens in real life, I'm sure. I luckily never had to do it in real life. But I got the company that was going to hire me to do close protection. A friend of mine was sending, because my friend of mine works for him, some of the pictures they would send me of the vehicles. Like, you would open the boot and there'd just be like guns laid there, like in trays and stuff. And like the door frame had all these awesome weapons right there. They just look so cool, these vehicles.
Presidential vehicle. The Secret Service member in the driver's seat needs to be able to evacuate the area with the president in tow ASAP.
Yep.
In order to do this safely, the drivers are required to be trained in the arts of offensive and defensive driving.
Yeah.
These include maneuvers such as the three-wheel J-turn, the ability to reverse accelerate, ramming into other vehicles safely, and driving full speed and in complete control while in reverse.
You've basically got to be an expert. You've got to be a very, very, very good driver. I know bits of this stuff. I was a driver in the Royal Marines at the end of my career in the Royal Marines, so I knew bits of it. But more importantly, the vehicle you're driving is also fitted for that purpose, right? The vehicle is actually like modified to make a lot of these things. Actually, it's like when you see the stunt vehicles at like Disney and stuff like that, right? Like, they're made to do the stunts, and so they're not just a regular car that you would drive. And although these are regular cars, they're just modified to be a little bit more secure. Like I said, my friend showed me pictures where they have weapons in the doorway and the door panels and stuff ready to grab straight away. You know, all the exterior of the door of the car would be bulletproof, or at least bullet resistant, you know, to some extent.
So it goes without saying that this type of S-tier driving puts all the stunt drivers in the Fast and Furious movies to shame. Number 13, getting shot.
Getting shot. It's a great insane tactic. Get shot.
prepare for anything while on the job. So in order to ensure that they can continue to serve even when under fire, one of their training tactics is to get shot with fake bullets. More specifically, the bullets that are shot at them during training exercises. And while they're strong enough to leave a colored trace and a superficial sting, they don't penetrate deep enough to cause any serious damage.
Yeah, I forgot what these rounds were that we were using in Royal Marines training. There were regular rounds, but they had basically like a paintball at the end. So if you can imagine the brass from a regular 5.56, but at the end it was like kind of like a paintball. But them things hurt more than a paintball, to be honest with you. There was them things that people were using, and there was also like a laser thing that people were using as well. It was like kind of like laser tag in a way, just to say, oh, you've been shot or whatever. And although we didn't get to use that a lot, we know that it was coming in right as I was leaving, and so a lot of people got to use it.
This makes them the perfect training tool. Number 12, they film everything.
Oh.
Constantly being filmed sounds like something taken right out of the book 1984. But when it comes to the president, this measure is of the utmost importance.
I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Not just for stuff that's going on at the time, but for everything, right? Making sure you got footage of everything, just in case anything goes wrong, which it has done in the past couple months. They can replay that footage and see what people were doing at the time and where people were looking and stuff like that. It makes sense for everything to be filmed.
Ever since cameras failed to identify President Kennedy's assassin after he was shot in 1963, the Secret Service made a point of meticulously
Did it just show that video? Jesus.
filming every presidential motorcade on camera. While this filming can be used to help identify potential threats, in the case that something bad were to happen, this footage would be invaluable in trying to determine the suspects behind any presidential attack.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Number 11, crowd scanning. While meetings at a distance are easy to deal with, some interactions are a little more up close and personal than most. In order to deal with this, the Secret Service are constantly scanning the area around the president to keep an eye on people who have their hands stuffed in their pockets, have strange bulges in their jackets, or who are otherwise suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, this is general tactics, isn't it? Just looking around. I mean, you do this in the military as well. When I was doing, I did the line in the streets for the opening of Parliament when I first passed out as a Royal Marine. It's the same type of thing. You stood there guarding people who are going past, so you're kind of looking at the crowd and just like eyeballing people and just, you know, you're trying to be stoic, but at the same time, if something is unusual, you've got to flag it. Do you know what I mean?
The sunglasses are their way of doing this undercover, as by being completely black, it's nearly impossible for these suspects to notice that they're being stared at. Therefore, just know that if you ever get to visit the president, you will be constantly watched. Number 10, trip planning. While you've probably made an itinerary to plan your travels from one city to another, the Secret Service brings trip planning to a whole new level.
Yeah, and if it's something to do with the president, they're going to be looking at every single building they go past, all the windows that are there, any vantage points, all of them have got to be cleared. There's going to be so much rigorous detail, isn't there?
Rather than simply plan a route and then book hotels, Secret Service agents take a very hands-on approach that takes every minor detail into consideration. For example, they will ensure the airspace is clear, map out a motorcade route, plan which presidential vehicles will use it. They'll identify low-risk hotels that can have entire floors booked off. They will be sure to locate hospitals and secure locations en route should the president need to be treated or evacuated to safety. All of this planning generally needs to take place months in advance, and so it should come as no surprise that practically zero presidential visits are unplanned.
Yeah, can you imagine the amount of stuff they've got to go through? The planning for something like that must be mental, mustn't it?
Number 9, always watching. While it may creep you out to imagine
why has he got pictures of bathrooms behind? That made it definitely creepy.
Someone watching your every move, this is exactly what the president has to deal with on a daily basis. From the time they run on the campaign trail to the time they die, they will always have a security detail.
I'm listening
and it's
still.
this security detail's task to never take their eyes off the president. And I mean that literally. Whether the president is going to a doctor's appointment.
So if the president's going for a massive poo, do they have to watch him wipe? God, imagine having to sit there and watch Trump or Biden wipe their ass. You got PTSD, aren't you?
Having a meeting with a member of Congress, or going to the bathroom, a Secret Service agent has to be on hand. And while this type of protection is certainly necessary when a president is in office, it can get overbearing afterwards.
Yeah,
and as a result, President Nixon went as far as to have it relinquished in 1985,
Oh,
and
okay.
instead replaced it with his own private security detail.
Okay.
Number
That's a
8,
bit different then.
Systema. Secret Service agents are a highly trained military force, and while they generally hope to avoid hand-to-hand combat, they generally neutralize these types of physical threats through a martial art known as Systema, Russian for system. It's a type of Russian martial art that's known for being extremely brutal.
The truth is, they probably do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's the truth of it. When I was in the Royal Marines, we did a lot of grappling on the floor. And although it wasn't named Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I bet if they looked into that more, we could have got even better at it, because we did a lot of grappling on the floor constantly, and it was very scrappy, right? Like very scrappy fighting. And you think about, yeah, they're talking about this special type of martial arts, and it's named from the Russian. It's just grappling, right? That's all it is, and you just got to be good at it.
Originally used only by military
None of that shit works. None of it works.
personnel such as the KGB and Spetsnaz. It emphasizes the use of natural and simple techniques to take advantage of an attacker's biomechanics.
That never
More
works.
specifically, it's a strong focus on controlling the levers of an attacker and deflecting weapons so that they cannot be aimed at the president.
If it worked, it would be in UFC. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, and it's not. The UFC is the peak of fighting, or it is to some extent. You know, you can't get Muay Thai in there because it doesn't work, because people can grapple. And so it's the closest you're going to get to dirty fighting. And so they're the tactics that are the best.
It's largely because of martial arts such as Systema that it would be near impossible for any shooter
What's that? Yeah, let me just wipe your buggers. Do that to me kid I do this to me kid all the time. When he's like, Daddy, we knows he's running. I'm like, yeah, let me get that.
Because of martial arts such as
Boom, get on the
Systema,
ground.
it would be near impossible for any shooter to take out the president at short range.
And then I
In
give it
today's
some of that
day and
after
age,
it.
making it a useful skill to know.
This is like when my wife's telling me, here, can you do the dishes?
Short
Here's a
range.
knife to do
In today's day
to
and
clean.
age,
And I'm
making it
like,
a useful
no,
skill to
thank
know.
you. Get them dishes
Number
away
7,
from me.
food
I'm having way too much fun with this video, aren't I?
testing. Poisoning
Food
is
testing.
easily one
I
of
could
the
be good at that
sneakiest
one.
ways to kill
Let
a
me
president.
test all the
And so
food.
in order to ensure that a poisoned porterhouse steak isn't what leads to the president's demise, the Secret Service has the task of testing food. While they don't take a bite to test it, what they do instead is monitor the entire cooking process as if it's being done by non-cleared chefs, say at a fancy restaurant. However, there are some exceptions to this rule. For example, if the president is eating at a place like Buckingham Palace, the Secret Service is generally comfortable enough to trust the UK's Secret Service to inspect the food for them.
That makes total sense, especially with the two countries being so close. I don't think there's any other two countries in the world that are as close as the UK and the US. If royal families going to America, or if a president's coming to the UK, you guarantee that they're probably going to use their services to some extent to make the trip easier.
The Secret Service is also lax when it comes to the president's takeout food, as rather than order food right to the White House, they will order it to a building nearby so that the cooks don't know that it's there for the president, and therefore do not poison it.
Yep.
Number 6, letter testing.
That picture was disgusting, wasn't it?
While it's easy enough to find someone who makes threatening comments about the president online, doing so for a letter with no return address is much harder. However, despite the challenges, the Secret Service is able to do this by employing a few sneaky tactics. If the letter is handwritten, it can be run under a handwriting scanner, which can be matched to other handwritten documents in their database to determine a potential match.
Crazy.
However, if the letter is typed, then the Secret Service reaches out to their ink database. Ink companies apply chemical tags to their ink before it's shipped, and by cross-referencing the letter's ink to the tags, the Secret Service can find out which company sold the ink, what country it's from, what state it's sold in, and allegedly what city the ink was shipped to.
That's mental,
This process
isn't it?
allows the Secret Service to narrow down their search efforts, and with enough additional sleuth work, this tactic allows them to find the sender.
It doesn't surprise me that there's things like that we don't know about, because they really are vigorous with everything, aren't they?
Number 5. Threatening to kill the president. The United States is a country with almost complete freedom of the press, and as such, Americans are allowed to criticize their politicians as much as they please.
Hell yeah.
However, the one thing that you absolutely cannot say is that you want to kill the president. Considered to be a class...
You should be able to say whatever you say, whatever you want to say. But yeah, you shouldn't be able to say that you're able to kill someone. Like, that's not okay.
D felony under United States law. Doing so is punishable by up to 5 years in prison, a maximum fine of $250,000, and up to 3 years of supervised release. And internet restrictions such as prohibition on accessing emails. Now, while this may sound pretty heavy-handed, what's perhaps even more interesting is that the Secret Service is very active in terms of enforcement. In order to find potential threats, they constantly scour the internet using advanced technologies in order to find any suspects online, while also relying on reports made by those who say such things out in public.
It's not that. I think what happens is they probably collaborate with a lot of social medias, and they're like, anything that says this stuff, flag it to us and we've got to review it. That's what it probably is.
Once a suspect is found, they'll launch a mini investigation and will divide the threat into one of 3 categories. The first time...
No, they won't do a mini investigation. What they'll do is they'll find out who did it and they'll put their name into a database that they've already got. And what they'll do is they'll give it a certain criteria. It's threatening, blah, 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 blah. And what will happen is it'll go into that database, and one, it'll either come back saying, boom, this has happened before, this has happened 3 times, they've been in this area, therefore you need to escalate what's going on. Or other times it'll be just like, this is the first time, but they're in the database in case they do it again.
Which are Class 1 threats, are those deemed serious at first, but ultimately determined to be harmless.
I almost guarantee that's what happens.
Class 2 threats are considered to be serious, but made by people incapable of acting upon them. And Class 3 threats that are considered to be serious and dangerous enough that the agents will have to interview the suspect and any acquaintances of theirs to determine if they truly are a threat.
Right.
With this in mind, I recommend being extremely careful about what you post about the president online.
True.
Because if you say something dicey, you might...
It's not just the president, it's anyone. Don't post anything about stuff like that on social media. Don't be that guy. Don't contribute to the horrible stuff that's on the internet. Seriously.
Be able to expect a Secret Service agent to be knocking on your door. Number 4, Marine One. When traveling between cities, sometimes a car isn't all that practical. After all, American presidents typically need to have a large motorcade around them. And in all honesty, it's often easier and less expensive to simply let the president travel by air. As a result, a helicopter that goes by the code name Marine One is often used to transport the president from place to place.
I've not seen that before.
With a helicopter by the code name of Marine 2 often being used in the same capacity for the vice president. Now, technically speaking, any aircraft carrying the president or vice president can get their Marine code names. However, with the helicopters in question, they're typically HMX-1 Nighthawks, which consist of either large Sikorsky VH-3D Sea King helicopters or the newer, smaller VH-60N White Hawk helicopters.
These are probably some of the best and safest helicopters in the world, I'm sure.
In either case, there are usually as many as 5 helicopters used, as all the ones not carrying the president will typically act as decoys, shuffling around with the presidential helicopter in order to obscure which one he's truly in.
True.
Yet the Secret Service's security measures don't stop there. That's because Marine One is also equipped with an anti-missile countermeasure system, such as flares to counter heat-seeking missiles, chaff to counter radar-guided missiles, and an infrared jammer to protect against infrared missiles. In addition to this, every member of the HMX-1 is required to pass a specialized Yankee white background check before touching any of the helicopters used for presidential travel.
Yeah, imagine the amount of checks you've got to have just to be near the president anyway on a daily basis. Like, the checks you would have would be crazy. It would be like, what medication are you on? How are you feeling today? There'd be mood tests. How are things at home? How's your finances? Like, there'd be everything just to make sure that you're not in some way, you know, not mentally with it.
Ensuring both the helicopter's equipment and the president himself cannot be tampered with. When considered in tandem, it's these countermeasures that enable a president's flight from place to place is as safe as possible.
Yeah.
Number 3, White House security tricks. Given that the White House is the home of the president, it's an extremely difficult home to get into. If you'd like a tour, it is legal to get a look around a few carefully selected parts of the facility, although you must book 21 days in advance so that the Secret Service can do a background check on you. However, if you happen to be someone who's not on a scheduled visit, then you'll have a far more difficult time finding your way inside.
Yeah, you're not going to get inside. There's people who jumped over the fence and got on the lawn, wasn't there, on the grass? But they get tackled and taken down so quickly.
You see, every inch of the perimeter is surrounded in a complex set of infrared lasers that cover the sky, surface, and underground. They're sensitive enough to detect even the most minuscule of threats.
I bet there's more than that. People are probably nowhere near. Isn't there something that monitors everyone's phones that are nearby? Like, as soon as you get within a certain vicinity of the White House, your phone is just monitored. Like, all your calls, all your text, everything. That's what I've heard from my computer science classes.
And while this means that sometimes something as small as a squirrel can cause Secret Service agents to storm into the White House, it means that no threats go uninvestigated.
Yeah.
Above ground, the airspace of Washington, D.C. is considered to be a no-fly zone. So if anyone or anything enters this area, a team of drones and a set of sensors will pick it up. And if necessary, there are several surface-to-air missiles that can be dispatched to deal with the threat. As a final resort, the White House also has a high fence and bulletproof windows, making it a very difficult place to enter.
Yep.
However, despite the security in place, several people have managed to enter the White House uninvited.
Yeah, people have jumped over the fence, I'm pretty sure, and ran across the grass.
Some, such as Omar Gonzalez, has used violence. Others, such as Robert Latta, were able to simply walk past all security.
Wow.
As such, it's technically possible to find a way around security and enter the White House. But yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Number 2, Air Force One.
This is the one I've heard of the most, Air Force One. I'm sure that plane is just like absolutely decked out with everything, isn't it?
The President of the United States typically has to visit multiple countries during their term, so the Secret Service has to furnish an airplane that's able to comfortably make international trips.
I bet it's not like flying with Ryanair, isn't it? I bet it's lush in there. You're not crammed next to people who are snoring or farting or making weird noises, and I'm sure the food's not horrible.
And while Air Force One can technically refer to any plane that the president flies in, the title is most often designated to one of two very highly customized Boeing 747-200B series aircraft.
So
Now,
cool.
these aircraft are perhaps best known for having a virtually unlimited range, as they have the remarkable ability to be able to be refueled mid-air. The two planes are also extremely secure, as they have onboard electronics that protect against electromagnetic pulses and coded communications equipment that allow the aircraft to
crazy.
function as a mobile command center in the
The truth is, every plane should be that secure, shouldn't it, really?
event of an attack on the United States. Yet besides the intense security, the plane is also extremely luxurious.
Yeah.
That's because inside of each is composed of about 370 square meters of floor space.
It's got an office and everything. It's ridiculous, that, isn't it? It's probably got Wi-Fi and everything you need.
Spread across 3 stories, with this including an extensive suite for the president that features a large office, bathroom, and a conference room. Air Force One also includes a medical suite that can function as an operating room,
Wow.
and a doctor is permanently present in order to serve the needs of all on board.
That's
If the
crazy.
plane's visitors get hungry too, they can rely on Air Force One's 2 food preparation galleys, which have the capacity to feed 100 people at any given time.
What?
Best of all, when you consider that the plane has separate quarters for the president's advisors and a detachment of cargo planes to provide the president with everything he could ever need, it becomes clear that this plane is the epitome of luxury.
Yeah, that's peak, isn't it? Taylor Swift isn't flying around in one of these, is she?
Number 1, the Beast.
The Beast.
When it comes to safe travel, nothing quite beats the presidential vehicle, nicknamed the Beast. It's a limousine that is
It's probably a tank, but looks like a limousine.
made to look like a Cadillac, but
Yeah.
outside of its headlamps, tail lamps, and the grille design, the car itself is far from your typical Caddy.
Yeah.
Driven by the Secret Service, the Beast takes things up a notch by sporting a chassis, diesel engine, and transmission that are similar to those used on GM's heavy-duty commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
As a result, the Beast comes in at a whopping 9,000 kilograms, has a max speed of just 100 kph, and an efficiency
Jesus.
of about 3.5 kilometers per liter.
Wow.
However, outside of its rather poor specs, the Beast is by all accounts a world-class vehicle.
I bet it is,
For
yeah.
example, the car's doors are reportedly 20 centimeters thick and weigh as
Holy, look at that. They are thick, aren't they? That's mental.
much as the doors found on a Boeing 787, meaning that they're nearly impenetrable against outside threats.
Wow.
The security is reinforced by the car windows, which are bulletproof and about 13 centimeters thick, and the underbody, which is made out of a reinforced 13-centimeter steel plate that can fend off roadside bombs. The tires are reportedly run flats made from super high-strength Kevlar, which means that they function even after being punctured. Interestingly enough, the car's protection even extends to its interior, as if faced with a chemical attack, the inside of the car can be completely contained, as the fuel tank can surround itself with a special foam material in order to insulate it from outside threats.
Jesus.
And if the president ever gets in a really messy situation, the trunk of the car is fully stocked with tear gas canisters, shotguns, grenade launchers, oxygen
That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, look at all that in there. Oh my God, the steel and everything.
tanks, night vision cameras, and a cache of the president's blood type, with all of this being used by a squad of Secret Service agents when necessary. In other words, the car really is ready for anything. Yet it's also important to note that the Beast has its own fair share of problems. That's because despite being as tough as it is, it's notoriously difficult to drive and
Yeah, I'm sure it's legit like driving a tank that looks like a regular car.
prone to breaking down. As a result, it's only ever released on rare occasions that require added security.
Yeah. And the truth is, they probably have many different versions, and they're probably iterating on that version all the time. Great video. This was by Top 5's 15 Secret Service tactics that are insane. I will leave a link down below to the original video. I really, really enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know more about some of the really secret stuff they do, even though a lot of that isn't really talked about. Because a lot of the stuff at the start was very basic stuff that we're already well aware of, but it was cool to kind of get like some new information on that. But I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you've got video suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. Check out morale down in the description, and that's it. Until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I love you all. Goodbye.